So thank you very much. My name is Lior Ben Yaakov. I'm here to talk about and introduce Mitsubishi Corporation. What I plan to do in the next few minutes, and I apologize for those speaking after me if I'm going to go a little bit over, is to present just a few slides that we prepared so that at the end of this meeting, there'll be a bit of a better understanding about what exactly we are. I've already seen some of the questions in the group while we were networking about, is it not just the automobiles and what exactly you do and why agri-food? So it definitely is. We'll also talk a little bit about what we do here in Israel with our very small outpost office, I would call it. And then a little bit about some innovation needs, or at least how we look at innovation within this vertical, but also maybe with some of the others. Just about a little bit about myself. So as you will see soon, right now we're kind of generalists, so we look beyond agri-food, but agri-food is a little bit of my baby. I used to be with corporate strategy and business development with Cargill in the United States, then came back to Israel and was with one of the group companies of the Central Bottling Company. Also had a great opportunity to spend a very interesting time with a precision agriculture company here in Israel, so have seen the space from various angles. So let's just start. The messages that I'll be delivering here is we're a complicated company, but please speak to us. So a little bit about history. So I'm representing Mitsubishi Corporation, MC, I'll call it going forward, because there are many Mitsubishi companies out there. Some of them are close family and some of them are kind of more distant family. The history starts way back in the 19th century. Two families that merged, that began as a shipping, business, which later developed into other industries. Only in the beginning of the century, the very famous three-diamond Mitsubishi logo emerged. The modern history of the company starts only at the war. So beforehand, these companies became what you call a zaibatsu, but which is a term that I think died recently. Large conglomerates that later during the war under American occupation were dissolved. But in the 50s, they kind of reunited into several groups. Some of them you know. We like to call it the Mitsubishi Group. And we are the Mitsubishi Corporation. You're probably familiar with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, which is another large group, Mitsubishi Financials, and other. These groups continued with the reconstruction of the Japanese economy, and they were a major part in the fast growth of that economy up until the 80s or 90s. In the 90s, the trading aspect, these are what you would call a general trading company, Sogo Sosha, the strategy changed quite a bit into a more of an investing and operating approach, and that's what we'll discuss a little bit later, so we have a bit of a dual DNA, I would call it. I did not want to go into our official org chart, which you might find in one of our brochures, super complicated. I'll just say that today, we were looking at history, a very large company with over 80,000 employees, depending on who you count within, about $150 billion in revenue, locations globally. And we do operate, again, I'm talking about the corporation as a whole, in virtually every industry. We'll focus today on the food industry, but even within the food industry, and we'll talk about it, in some of the food businesses that are related are actually in different groups. And in total, we have about, depending on the week, 1,700 group companies in there. So just as an example, I think one of the presenters here are Dole. They're a group company within one of our competitors, Itochu, if I remember correctly. Quickly a little bit about what we do in our office here in Tel Aviv. We are really the advocates for the Israeli ecosystem within our group. So when I talk to my friends and I tell them, what do you do, Leo? It's a little bit of a hybrid, and this is a joke that some of you may have heard already, but it's a bit of a hybrid between a little bit of VC, a little bit of tech scouting, a little bit of business development, and quite a bit of the Israel Export Institute, or in Hebrew, Machon HaYitzua Israeli, because we really look for these opportunities here in Israel. Opportunities could be speaking to stakeholders like startups, which is kind of the main thing, but also other entities like Herzog Strategic or accelerators and GrowingIL and VCs. And our job is to go into the world of MC and try to promote the ones that look interesting to us within the various businesses. As you'll see, it's complicated because there's so many units and so many companies, so it's very hard to pinpoint exactly what to look at. So we're here to help with that. It's a tough job, but we're here to represent this ecosystem here. Our vision going forward is also to kind of evolve into what you would call a CVC, as have done some of our counterpart companies here. We look at Agri-Food-tech, which we're talking about today, but we look also at other verticals, so relatively generalist. This is my little invention of how we can look at innovation when you come to speak to MC. So I would call it like a three-angle approach. So when Dana and Yonit asked me to list priorities, we gave these four, but it was very difficult for me to narrow it down because there's so many. So one angle would be more of these specific parameters, but I would say that we should really keep an open mind and look at other areas. Another angle would be the fact that we have a dual DNA. So if you remember, I said that the origins of this family of companies was in trading, import, export, but for 30, 40 years now has become an operating company, so there's metal in the ground. So that is another aspect. And then there's the aspect, excuse me, of where we are in the value chain. Excuse me. I say that, and that will be my next and final slide, is because somewhere in the world, whether it's in Japan, Asia, or elsewhere, there'll be a business that can represent one of the sectors of the agri-food value chain, and that is very important for us to remember because that means that there's so many ways where an innovative idea coming from out of here in Israel could be relevant for one of our businesses. Which means that MC and one of its businesses could be either a user as a way to collaborate, and it could be a go-to-market or a technology partner, and of course, hopefully can also become an investor. And I'll finish with this. So a consulting slide. We're in a consulting environment here. A very illustrative representation of the agri-food system. Let's not start a debate on which section should be more to the right or more to the left. I want to show just a few examples of companies that are within our group so that we can get a perspective or a small perspective of how broad it is and the potential for relevant opportunities. So if I go up front to the input area, so agri-inputs. One of our group companies, in this case in Japan, Mitsubishi Shoji Agri, markets raw materials and the fertilizers themselves for the entire agricultural market, in this case in Japan. Another group company in the equipment space is the exclusive distributor for John Deere's very strong competitor, AGCO, in this case also in Japan. They also do aftermarket support, so they actually have machine works. We're also active, and these again are just a few examples, in farming. So Cermaq, which is based in Norway but a global company, is also within our group. So this is virtually a vertically integrated salmon farming industry. We own land, in this case in Brazil, with one of the largest plantations. So we're present also on the farming side and on the growing side. Moving on to a few more examples. So I come from Cargill. When I was with strategy at Cargill, you can bet that Olam was on our scope. Olam is also a group company. I put Indiana Packers, which is a fully integrated meat packer, on the origination side. Could be somewhere else, but that also means that we're in livestock. MCLS, Mitsubishi Corporation, Life Sciences, is a very large ingredient company in Japan, which we're working now a lot with. alternative proteins, addressing sugar, and others. We also do manufacturing. When we were outside and I saw the Japanese beer, which was not part of our group, I kicked myself for not adding. So this is Prince's. We also have Kirin beer, which is also part of our group. I should have mentioned that. So consumer products and food manufacturing. KFC in Japan is a MC group company. So all the way from the chemicals to KFC. And then also to Lawson, which is the second largest 24/7 convenience store chain, so almost as large as 7-Eleven. And across the value chain itself, so another very large group company, and I'm accompanied today by Endo-san, who comes from Tokyo Marine for the insurance side. And on logistics, we have lots of activities in logistics. I added one example here, which was the packaging business. So just to summarize, what I was trying to say is that please talk to us, see us as some sort of a focal point. There are many ways into the group. We're not the only way, but we can really help simplify things. We can try and find the right places within these groups. We've already done some of it. And we really hope that today and also following today, we'll be able to build more awareness and contacts. So thank you very much.